Good morning, everyone.
Morning. Good morning.
God bless you and thank you for having me today. Uh, I'm coming by Zoom in part because I don't drive anymore, but I'm grateful to be invited. This church and I go back to its founder, and I'm grateful to having had a couple of my students work with you guys over the years. Um, Anita Graham, and last but not least, Rosalind Mariconda, and also a classmate of mine, Linda Dominic. So we have ties, and the ties are strong. So this morning, I'd like to talk to you a minute or two about being ready and getting set and then growing. Now, I asked the platform person at the last minute. Of course, I had a question at the last minute. When was your annual meeting? And she told me it's at the end of February. So you got time to get ready and set yourself up to grow as a ministry. But I want to ask you this for yourself personally. Are you ready to grow? Have you done what it takes to be set to grow? And we're talking about growing spiritually because growing physically just kind of falls into place if you stay on the planet. And for those who just recently had a birthday, and for my children, who's are January people, the 6th, the 14th, and the 28th, they feel like they're ready, set, and are growing. I'm not going to tell you how old they are, but they're older people. So hopefully they're really ready. I know for sure my daughter is. My sons, oh well. I just keep I just keep them in prayer and join me in keeping them in prayer. The Bible story I want to talk to you about today is the story of Joseph, found in Genesis 1:37 through 45. Joseph started out as his father's favorite, which his brothers didn't like that too well. They felt the job his father had given him of keeping the flock was good enough for him, and there wasn't anything special about it. Well, if you read the story, his father just loved Joseph, created a coat of many colors, which I think there's a country singer that has a song, Coat of Many Colors. I can't remember whether it's Dolly Parton or Reba McEntire.
Dolly.
It's Dolly. Okay, I believe you. It's a beautiful song. And she spoke to the coat of many colors that she had as a child, and probably got because she was a special child, just like she's a special adult, because she really is. But his brothers couldn't stand that. So they decided to do away with it. In doing so, Joseph faced his first opportunity to get ready to grow spiritually as he grew physically. His brothers were, there were those who wanted to kill him. There were those who just wanted to get rid of him in any way necessary, by any means necessary. So they just tossed him in a pit. And they were going to be okay with leaving him there. Well, there were those who weren't okay with that. They said, no, we need to take him out of that and do something different. So they sold him to the caravan that was coming by. In selling him to this particular caravan, they actually did him a favor. They didn't know where the caravan was going, but it wound up going to a place where he could wind up getting actually a good job. Now, I can identify with Joseph because when I was in the process of graduating from ministerial school in Unity, I wasn't sure where I was going to go and minister or how I was going to minister. So the first place I went, believe it or not, was Minneapolis, Minnesota. Now I'm a native Detroiter. So, I wasn't looking to try and go any place colder than Detroit. But after we graduated, a bunch of us went and hung out. And I'm not going to tell you what we did. We just went and hung out. At any rate, then we went to breakfast early in the morning, closed the restaurant down. I go home and go to bed, and my telephone rings, and a lady named Gladys Branscombe called. She was the Dean of Student Life there at Unity. And there was someone who wanted to have an interview with me. And when she told me it was Reverend Jim Fisher from Minneapolis, I was like, what does he want to talk to me about? Does he think I want to go someplace colder than Detroit? Gladys laughed and she said, oh, Sheila, just come to the interview and then decide whatever you want to do. So after I said, okay, set it up. I had planned on getting some rest and then going and supporting my friends who were going to play in the golf tournament that afternoon. I did not play, but I was going to go and support them. I never made it to the golf tournament. I went to see Jim. Jim told me that the board wanted a video. Well, that was something we had done while we were in school as a part of our practicing how we would interview when the time came. So we had videos that we could send. So I sent a video to Minneapolis. I didn't think anything of it, didn't think they were going to invite me to come up there to interview. And lo and behold, I was one of the 4 people they invited. In inviting me, 2 days after I had gone up there, well, a week after, because they had one more person to see. 2 days after they saw that person, they called me and offered me the job. Honey, I had to pray. I did. I really had to pray. I wanted to know, did God really want me to do this? But I had prepared myself. I was ready and I was all set to do whatever it was that God wanted me to do, wherever God wanted me to do it. That meant I was ready to grow. Little did I know that Minneapolis was the best place for me to be. Not only was it the best paying job available at that time, and I have to throw that in there because they don't always pay you very much when you're going in as the associate. There were things that occurred there that made me grow tremendously. I was only there for 2 years, but I had opportunities to practice the principles that I had been learning under Reverend Dr. Ruth Mosley and all the people that had worked at the Urban Ministerial School, because I was in the 4th class to go through the urban school. And Then what I learned at Unity Village. So it was a real blessing for me to be up there. It was a blessing for Joseph to wind up working for a band named Pittifar until his wife decided that she liked Joseph. She liked the young Joseph and tried to convince him to like her more than his boss's wife. I don't know if any of you've ever experienced anything like that. And I'm not going to ask you to tell us if you did. Just hold that thought and know what happened and how you grew through it, experiencing that particular thing. Well, he didn't grow through it so well. She tricked him. He wound up in jail. Now you would say, how did he grow in jail? Well, while he was in jail, and I guess I need to add this, while I was in Minneapolis and working with Reverend Fisher, I found out that he had no ministerial experience at a church prior to going to ministerial school. So I was trying to figure out how did he get a job at one of the largest churches in the country, large, not just physically large, but he was doing 4 services a Sunday. So he needed some help. It wasn't just that he wanted some help, he really did need some help. So when I got hired, it was because they needed another minister there. In terms of how Joseph grew, he had already been a dreamer. And he had the opportunity to tell some people what their dreams really meant. And when he told them and they came true a little bit later on, the Pharaoh had an opportunity to need some interpretation, dream interpretation. And the man that he had told he was going to be able to get his job back and it was going to save his life told the Pharaoh, oh, I know just who can help you. He's in jail, but he can help you. Sent for Joseph, and the rest is his story of his growth. So I ask you today, what opportunities, maybe not like the ones that confronted Joseph, but what opportunities have you already had to grow? And how have you benefited by those opportunities? And what's going on today that's going to help you grow tomorrow? No one can answer those questions but you can answer those questions for yourself. So that is what I bring you today, the opportunity to look at your life, look at the situations in your life, see, are you ready? And have you set yourself up in a position to grow? And how do you see yourself growing? It took me a while after I came back to Detroit to move through the things that occurred. I came back to work with Reverend Ruth Mosley after serving in a ministry for 18 years in Northern California. Those people were very upset that I was going to leave them. It was like, how dare I leave them? Well, excuse me, I have a life, and it was necessary for me to continue on down the path that God had set before me. And I had done what I needed to do to be ready and to set myself to get in my car and drive across country back to Detroit. Now, I had been engaged to get married again to somebody here in Detroit. So there were people that thought that's really why I was coming. Didn't have anything to do with him. He did not even know I was coming. When he found out I was back here, was very surprised that how could I come and he not know? Because by the time I came back, we had decided no, we weren't going to get married to each other. We were just going to remain friends, which is what we had been for years to begin with, and which is what we still are because we still mastermind together. For those of you who know what the mastermind prayer is, we still meet every Tuesday as a part of and he and I both are part of a mastermind group. But it didn't have my coming back didn't have anything to do with him. It had to do with continuing to be of service in a different way than I was being of service in California. So I came back here and set myself up at the ministerial school, worked with Reverend Mosley, Donna, and her licensed teacher. And those of you who know who she was will remember her name. Came down to the school and said, how could they support us? And I said, if you have a place for people to do their internship, that will really help. And the rest is history. The two or three, because I think Brian Griffin came out here for a little while also. Brian is in Flint today. You know what's going on with Roslyn. Anita had gone to Unity in Southgate, and I think she's retired from there because of some family issues. But you guys stepped in and stepped up, gave them a place to continue to learn how to get ready and to set themselves up to grow fully into ministry. So just like you've done it for other people, how have you done it? How are you doing it for yourself? You don't have to answer me. You don't have to answer your person sitting next to you. But you do need to answer to yourself. And if you're not sure, it's time to pray, child, and ask God to help you get ready so you can be set to follow that divine plan for your life. Because there is one. There was one for me, and I've been living it, and I'm still living it. I'm still doing things, not only what I'm doing today, but I do some service at a senior center, of which I'm a member. I ain't gonna tell you how old I am, but I'm definitely a member. So I'm still following God's plan to the best of my understanding and ability. and it's fun. It is fun. So I thank you for listening to me and my story wound into Joseph's story. Next time we talk, I'll probably wind my story into somebody else's story. Because as I've looked through scripture, I found myself many times, right there in scripture already. And if I found myself, you can look in there and find yourself too. God bless you. I love you. I thank God for you. I'm going to turn this rest of the service over to your platform person. I understand she's going to be doing the Lord's Prayer. Then we're going to bless your giving. And if you're getting out of church early, is there a game on today? I'm a football person too. Might not be the Lions, but somebody playing today.